Thank you for joining the Visualize Your Back to the Workplace webinar. Experts from Netrix and AgilQuest will talk about leveraging technology to plan, execute, measure, comply with a socially distanced workspace. Here's what we'll cover today. We'll start introducing our experts. We'll talk about why we're here, why this webinar today. We'll talk about goals companies have with respect to getting their employees back to the office. Then we'll dig into specifics about how to go back to the workplace. As part of this, we'll present an AgilQuest product demo. After that, we'll go into Q&A. If you have questions, please enter them into the chat at any time during our presentation. We'll cover those after. We'll conclude with some offers to get you started and steps to get in touch. Speaking today will be Mike Gleason, a partner at Netrix and the director of our digital workplace practice area. AgilQuest's CEO, John Vivadelli, and the Chief Experience Officer at AgilQuest, Torrance Houlihan. With that, I'll hand it off to Mike Gleason.
Thanks, Mike. All right, appreciate everybody joining today. So you're probably wondering why we are here. Obviously, we're in an unparalleled world. We're all forced digital transformation. Every company's digital fitness is being checked. We're work from home, and we've all taken multiple roles. So whether it's a worker, a parent, a teacher, and I think we've all become therapists at this point in time. So we're about to enter the third phase of this process. And what I mean by third phase, I think we all kind of went through the shock and awe in the beginning of really saying, okay, wow, I have to work from home. Everybody's working from home. How does this work? Then we moved into the second phase, which is really about, okay, I understand work from home. This is going to last a while. I know what I'm doing, and we've all settled in. And we're really entering that third phase right now, which is, okay, soon offices will be reopened. And what type of platforms can I leverage to make sure that we open the office safely? Obviously it's an unknown when you look at exactly what the reentry model is going to look like. Some companies are going to do phased, some are going to do them staggered, some are going to do them in different work schedules. And obviously everybody's talking about the generic topics, cleaning protocols, mechanical systems, pulling desks apart, employee traffic patterns, thermal scanners. But what no one's really talking about is what we're going to talk about today. Is how do I use technology to plan, execute, manage my physical office area in regards to tracking and tracing, mobile booking, and really making sure that we're giving the employees a no-touch experience when they get into the office. I think what you'll see on the demo today is that how do we leverage and implement these types of solutions for not a ton of investment. And the last, I really like to kind of talk about how do you effectively manage if you don't basically measure the environment. You need to make sure the employees feel safe, but you also need to be able to let them know that, hey, I have a platform in place to be able to do this, to give them the experience that's obviously going to be a new way of working. So next slide, Mike. There's really four key goals here. The first and foremost is obvious. Number one, no matter what, protect employee health. That's what every single company has to do. Number two, protect the organizational financial health. How do I keep the business running stable? How do I make sure that the company's going to be able to make payroll? What do I need to do to make sure every employee keeps their jobs? Third is protect the organizational operational visibility. And I will go back, and you're going to hear us talk a lot about data analytics today. What type of data can we look at to make sure that we're running effectively? And how can I use this data to make sure that our space is being optimized and utilized correctly? And the fourth is protect organizational liability. I saw some very interesting data recently, and I'll share two quick ones with you. There was a recent study that was done by the National Federation of Independent Businesses that said that 70% of business owners are concerned about liability claims when they're reopening their business. And then I saw it on CNN the other day, they listed the top 5 locations that 90% of the transmissions are happening. And those are home, public transportation, restaurants, social gatherings, and yep, you got it, the workplace. So I truly believe we can prepare a safe and flexible office space when you do the reentry. And I'm going to turn it over to John from AgilQuest to give you some insights into how to do that. John?
Thank you, Mike, for the nice introduction. And thanks to all of you for joining this webinar. You know, if you're like me, you've been inundated by webinars around COVID-19. My experience is that most of these are at about a 50,000 foot level. They might be reviewing some research or surveys that they've done, some considerations, but not this one. What we're going to do here today is to help you visualize what you can do today, right now, with software that's already built and ready to go to help you to plan, execute, measure, and optimize your back to the workplace. In our 25-year operating history at AgilQuest, our platform has been used for disaster recovery and business continuity for our customers, which is really what we're talking about here today. One example, 9/11. We had two customers, very different uses of the platform. One centralized their operations into one location, the World Financial Center, and they didn't recover for a very long time. But another created a network of places to go to work. World 5 being one of them, but there were locations in the boroughs all around Manhattan. And they recovered in days as people used our platform to migrate to safer places to go to work. And remember, COVID-19 is just one example. There's going to be COVID-20 and 21, and there are going to be other events like earthquakes and hurricanes that are going to impact your people and your office space. The AgilQuest Forum platform you install today is flexible enough to be able to handle all of these different kinds of situations. And the way we help you, not only now, but into the future, is we provide you the data that you're going to need to be able to make really good decisions about your workplace strategy and office infrastructure. One more really important thing. People are afraid of coming back into the office. I think we all know that. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with an executive of probably one of the most successful companies in the world, and he said to me, "John, your platform helps me reduce my employees' fears of reentry by showing them that I've taken care of them. I've given them a visible means to improve their safety." I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, it's time to show you what we can do. So what I'm going to talk about now are the things that Torrance Houlihan is going to cover real quickly. First of all, number one, no touch. This is an important one. And you're going to have digital signage probably in your offices. We have a really great capability to be able to leverage a QR code with your mobile app so that you don't have to touch the digital signs. You're going to use your phone as a mechanism for being able to find the availability of a room and to book it right there. The next thing we're going to cover is to partition and then to stagger your reentry into the office. So you're going to partition your employees, you might partition your space into various different groups, and then you're going to stagger how they're going to go back into the office. So we're going to show you a lot of different options around that. The next thing we're going to cover is what some people call social distancing, but I like to call it physical distancing. You don't want to be socially distant from people, you just want to be physically distant from them. So we're going to show you ways of setting up the platform so that you can achieve that objective. Next thing is work from home. Really interesting. People want to use our platform to not only book space inside their offices, but also in their home offices. And Torrance is going to show you some ways of going about doing that and why people are doing that. The next thing we're going to cover is contact tracing and verification. Really important stuff. We're not going to get creepy about this and having people, being able to track people every step of the way. We're just using information that's already available in our platform and already available from your physical access control system to be able to give you great information about who may be nearby someone that tested positive and maybe the people that were in meetings with them. And that's all on one report. Really good stuff. The next thing we're going to cover is to measure presence and the utilization of the office. I made a reference to this before, which is how do we keep track of how many people are coming into the office, because there are going to be some jurisdictions that are going to limit the utilization of the office space, and we have reports to show you how to do that. And then really what it comes down to is compliance and the ability to use our platform to help support compliance of things like OSHA regulations and CDC guidance. So without further ado, Torrance Houlihan, our Chief Experience Officer, is going to show you each one of these items. Torrance, take it away.
Great, thanks, John. Before I share my screen, I want to thank Netrix and AgilQuest, obviously, for putting this on, and everyone out there listening to this and thinking about this. This is just such an important topic to all of us, right? We're talking about safety. We're talking about security. What I'm going to show you are some real actionable things that our customers are already doing to stage their workplace to get people back to work. But let's make it personal. I mean, we're talking about our colleagues, our friends, and our family, and making sure that they're safe. And that's why this is just so important. And I'm thankful for this opportunity to talk to you. I'm also excited because this product that we're going to go through, the AgilQuest Forum, this is, with one small exception, and I'll show you that when we get there, the same product that's been out for 2 years that people have been using. The Forum was built to be a very flexible platform to help you manage your workplace and meet your workplace goals, whatever they may be. Obviously, we couldn't have anticipated what's going on today, but we built a platform that's flexible to support you today and flexible enough to support you into the future. If we were having this conversation 3 months ago, we'd be talking about how do you drive up workplace density? How do you increase the utilization of your real estate? Those are interesting questions for another time. The questions that we have today are how do we make sure people are safe in the workplace and get back to work in an effective manner? 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever it is, we'll get to those questions about density and utilization. They're not important. What is important is the platform you put in place today will help you every step of the way. So let's get into the platform. Let me share my screen. And okay. So you should be seeing a screen. It's my mobile app. I'm going to be holding my phone in my hand as I talk about this a little bit. The first thing that you'll probably see on all of our interfaces, we designed all of our interfaces with some of the same principles in mind, is that they're very simple to use. We designed these to be no training required, pick them up and use them. That's very important to us, that the experience the end user has is simple and straightforward. We also designed them to look and feel like your workplace. So every picture that you see, obviously we've got a beautiful picture of Toronto up on my mobile app. When we get into the web, you'll see different pictures. Those are going to be your pictures, your workplace, your people. It's part of your program. So these are just some simple concepts that are built into our apps and all of our interfaces to help you along the way. John talked about this as a no-touch experience. It is. You're touching, but you're touching only your device. You're not touching the public kiosks and the digital signage that's out there. We love kiosks. We love them, the hardware, the digital signage. They make for a very rich experience. But this isn't the time for that experience. The time for the important thing today is making sure people feel safe. So we want to show you how you can help people use only what they're comfortable using, which are their own phones. When you get to the digital signs and the kiosks and the big display boards, that's great. Forum's there for you. We support all of that too. But today we're going to talk about this. So if I wanted to make a simple booking, it's as simple as touching the Make Reservation button. All of our interfaces are preference and profile driven. They know things about where you like to go to work, what you like to do. So in this case, I happen to like to go to New York. I just touch the search button and I get a beautiful list of what's available to me to book from my phone. Very easy to use. I can also see something from a floor plan. So I'm just going to pick one of our floors. And as I go into this floor, I'm not going to talk too much about this because we'll get to this when we get to the web, but you can see easily by drilling into the floor, there's a red space, a green space. If I touch the red, I can see, oh, John's going to be sitting there today. The green is available, so I could book that. The gray ones, which we'll talk about later, are currently unavailable. So very easy to use. Again, no training required. If you don't know how to get to a certain building, we have very tight Google integration. So much so that you can even get turn-by-turn directions right in your mobile app. So again, we're just trying to help that experience of individuals. I'll go back to the home page. John talked about the QR code, so let me go to that. You'll notice the center button on the lower row is Scan QR. I've got a QR on another screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and touch the Scan QR button. It picks up the QR code. And just like that, I'm taken to the schedule for that room. I can easily see when it's available, when it's not. I can, if I want to book this room, it's really just as simple as I touch and I submit. And my reservation is made just that fast. And I'm taken to my list of active reservations. So it's a very simple experience, totally touchless. That QR code could have been on anything. It could have been on a conference room, a huddle room, team room, on a desk, on a private office, anything that you want to give people immediate access to help them make their experience more seamless. A couple other things on the mobile app before I leave this. You'll notice there's a floor plan button. Just like we saw in the make reservation flow, I can go directly to a floor plan. I can pan and zoom, look around, orient myself, great for wayfinding, finding colleagues, finding rooms, understand what's going on. Hey, is the conference room open? Let me just touch this button. It'll tell me right away if that conference room is in use or not. There's also a check-in button, and we're going to talk a lot about check-in and presence when we get to the web interface. So I'm going to leave that for now. There's a lot more to talk about in the mobile app, but we have a lot to cover today and not a lot of time to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a web interface. So now you're seeing my web interface, and this is some very similar concepts like we talked about, very visual, very engaging. What I want to show you as we go through this are the very specific things that our customers are doing today. When things really started to change and people were starting to ask about physical distancing, the first thing customers came to us with, and John showed something similar to this in his slide, is, hey, AgilQuest, I need to limit the number of people on my floor. Help me do that right away.
We're not seeing your web.
Okay. Let me adjust that. Thank you, Don. So let me show you again how I got here. I started on our home page. Very similar experience to our mobile app, very image rich. And I simply touched, show me the floor plan. So now, and then the physical distancing floor plan. So one of the first questions that people came to us with was, how do I physical distance people from each other? So what we did for several customers right away is we went in and we deactivated spaces. So you can see the green spaces, these are available. This is that one that John has, so I can see that he's got that one booked. The gray ones are unavailable. So this is a pretty simplistic way of quickly distancing on a floor plan and making only certain spaces available to individuals. These are closed offices. So with the closed offices, I don't have to worry about the same distancing. So they're all available to people. Okay. That was one of the first things that people came to us with, still very relevant, very viable, and a lot of people are going down this path. Another idea that some customers came to us with was setting up this concept of breakdown time on space. And breakdown time on spaces gives you the time to make sure that you're appropriately cleaning between usage. So instead of saying you can only sit in these certain spaces, what people did is they went into the spaces, and I'll show you how this is here. Again, you'll get the feeling for how visual this is as we go through this. What they did is they put long breakdown times on their rooms. In this case, this customer has a 23-hour breakdown time. So from the time a person uses this desk, and you can see lots of different ways of visualizing that, but from the time a person uses this desk, it'll be at least 23 hours before another person uses it. And that allows you to properly clean and prepare for the next person who may come in to use that desk. So that was a pretty popular idea as well. The next one that came up, and we see this one quite a bit right now, this one seems to be kind of a very popular trend. People have broken their work groups up into teams. And for whatever reason, colors are popular. So you have a red team, a green team, and a blue team. And they might say the red team comes in on Mondays, and they can book this space up here, Mondays and Thursdays. The green team comes in Tuesdays and Fridays, and they can book down here. And the blue team they book the interior offices when they need to come in. So what you're actually seeing on this example is the combination of rules about people, when they can come in and what they're allowed to book, and space when it's available to individuals. So this idea of color coding is very popular. And one of the things we're seeing hand in hand with this is this idea of a 2-week work shift. So they might say, blue team, you're coming in for the next 2 weeks and you're working in these spaces across the top. And then you're out of the office for 2 weeks. Green team is coming in and they're going to work in these spaces down here. Everyone obviously understands why the 2-week window is important. That's something we all hear about the incubation period for COVID-19, but that has been worked into several of our customers' ideas for bringing people back to work in these 2-week work streams or work shifts, and putting people into certain spaces also. Another idea that's gaining popularity is this idea of dynamic spacing. And this one's kind of interesting, and I'll actually make a reservation here to show you this. Choice is so important in the workplace, right? It's been time and time again, it comes up in surveys about as one of the most important things for people in their workplace experience. And so instead of restricting people to specific rooms or desks, what some of our customers are saying is, well, you can book any desk, but as soon as you book one, the ones around it become unavailable. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to book this one down here, 212, but pay attention to the green circles around 212 that are within that 6-foot physical distancing area. So I click 212, I submit it, and it asks me to check in, of course, and we'll talk about presence in a minute. As soon as I book 212, all of the desks around it immediately become unavailable. We'll do the same thing over here with one of these desks. Since the physical distancing is a little bit different, I'm going to book this one. Same thing, it'll ask me about check-in. And bang, I book that desk, and now the ones within a 6-foot radius of that desk become unavailable too. So that's another idea that some people are doing. Finally, the last idea I want to show you for floor plans is this idea of alternate work days. And the customer, this is funny because the customer who brought this to us introduced it as alternate side of the street parking. So what they wanted to do is on certain days, today happens to be Thursday, these desks are available, the exterior desks are available. Tomorrow when I log in, these that are currently gray, these will become green because they've got theirs set up as certain desks are available Monday, Thursday, other desks are available Tuesday, Friday, and nobody works on Wednesday in the office because that's a deep clean day where everything in the office has to be cleaned. So the office gets deep cleaned Wednesday and Saturday. So just another idea for how people are arranging their workplace. Presence is a really important part of this conversation. I want to talk about presence for just a moment. Presence for us has always been, or has long been, about driving collaboration and community in the workplace. And if I scroll down on my homepage, I can see the My Team that I have. Forum, where there's a lot of forum functionality we're not going to get to, but this is one of the features of forum that I can look at My Team. And I can see Dawn is checked into a home office, Ross is checked into a home office, Abby and John have offices that they're going to be going into later. Ashley doesn't look like she's working today, maybe she has today off. So this idea of knowing where people are has been very important to us. So Dawn and Ross are in a home office. Let's talk about how they did that. Home offices, as John mentioned, are important. Obviously, most of us are working in one today, but they're important for safety reasons also, because if something happens and you find out someone was COVID positive in the office, it's not okay, or it's not enough to just say, well, I think Dawn was not in the office that day. It's important to know Dawn wasn't in the office that day. So what some of our customers are doing, and again, this is not a one-size-fits-all idea. You've probably picked up that there's lots of ideas, lots of concepts in place, and there are lots of ways to do what we're going to talk about and show. So what some of our customers are doing is they're setting up home offices in the system, and people go in and they book a home office just like they were going into the workplace. Large companies, small companies do it a little bit differently. Small companies may have personalized home offices. Large companies have kind of generic home offices where you just claim one. And that way it gives really clear visibility into who was where, when. And now we're going to get into why that's important. So Then I'm going to go over to the analytics section of our product, and I'm going to show some of the reports that we have. The first report I'm going to show is one all of our forum customers are familiar with. This has been out for quite some time. A very, quote unquote, a very simple view of person presence. And there are lots of ways to look at this. You can look at it in an aggregated way, you can look at it in a granular way, but this is one example of knowing who is in the office when. Now, how do we get this information, right? How do we get presence? Presence comes from lots of different sources in our system. Check-in is one source. You could have checked in from the mobile phone, as I mentioned when we were there. I forgot to mention at that point, but the mobile phone has a geofence around it, so you can only check in when you're within the proximity of the workspace. You could also check in from one of our other interfaces. Many of our customers check in by integration into their badge system. That's probably one of our most common methods of checking in. We integrate into badging systems a variety of different ways. If you have other methods where you want to get presence information for people, be it a network logon or a sensor that you have, and you can send us that information, we can integrate and aggregate that information through our Open Presence Listener into these reports so that you can get this type of information. Now, presence is one part of the conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about tracing, and John mentioned this one as well. This is the one new thing that is in Forum now. Right when the COVID-19 situation was starting to get serious, a couple customers came to us and said, AgilQuest, we want to be able to do a little deeper tracing of individuals so we can understand what interactions have been happening in the workplace. So we added this report about 3 weeks ago to our customers. Because we are a cloud-based platform, all of our customers immediately had this. So if you're a Forum customer, this has been in your system for about the last 3 weeks. That's just a benefit of being in a cloud-based platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check one of my colleagues, Ross. He was last in the office on Thursday, and I heard he's not feeling well. So I want to see what's going on, who he may have come in contact with. The first item I'm going to note is that we differentiate confirmed from unconfirmed presence. Confirmed presence is when we get an event that says Ross really was here, either again a badge swipe or anything that we can get our hands on, be it we said a log on or a sensor or a check-in, anything that we can get. So we have confirmed presence events. Ross booked this space, office space 2, and unfortunately several different people used that space in the days preceding him. Luckily nobody used it after him. If I needed to check on Abby or Jack and wanted to run a similar report for them, it's literally as simple as clicking that button, and I could run this same report for Jack. But we're going to keep and look at Ross here for a minute. There's some more confirmed presence that Ross had. We don't have a badging system in their demo system, so there's no badge swipes. But if this were integrated into your badging system, look at this information we could give you: where he was, when he was there, the door he accessed. All of this information would be right at your fingertips. The other thing that we have is a list of people that he probably came in contact with. So these are people that he was in meetings with, people that he was working with, and people that you're going to want to take kind of a deeper look at. So, obviously this traceability, it's just looking at what's happening in the workplace and the work events in the workplace to help you put a picture together of who was where, when, and who you may need to just kind of keep an eye on. I'm going to wrap up my part by talking a little bit about compliance. And to do that, I'm going to show the dashboard section of Forum. And in the dashboards, for those of you who are current Forum customers, you're going to be familiar with this. I actually put my dashboard together for myself the other day from all of our existing, not all of, but some of our existing widgets I put together to kind of create a visualization of what's going on in my office for things that I need to know. So I do like to work from New York. I can see what days are the busiest days, what days are the slow days. Wednesday looks like it's the busy day. Let's take a deep dive in Wednesday here. Oh yeah, boy, we're getting pretty full on Wednesdays. So what this would tell me is we need to dial back our workplace on Wednesday and maybe take some more space out of availability, really make sure people aren't coming in, keep that physical distancing, let people know Wednesday's a bad day to come in. Now, your end users also have access to a widget that looks like this, and they could see this for themselves. They could look at this and go, boy, if I'm going in on Friday or on Monday, because they're only 10 and 13% used on Fridays and Mondays. I can also see across my locations what's going on. This widget, I think, is fabulous for what we're trying to achieve here today together, because just from this one picture, I can see what my capacity was, what my planned usage was, how many people I expected to come in, and then how many people actually came in. Now, obviously, we were running this on a pre-COVID basis, and these numbers are a little bit higher. If we were to run this for right now, those numbers would be much, much lower. But this is a great widget to keep your eye on, so you can really see how full you're getting compared to your capacity. The last item I'm going to touch is collaboration space. You know, I mentioned a few times when we were going through the web about the importance of collaboration and community in our product, and it really is. It's foundational, it's fundamental. But in today's world, we need to be careful with collaboration and community and make sure that people aren't gathering in large numbers and that you're managing that. To that end, what many of our customers have already done is gone into the system and reduced the capacity of their conference rooms. So a room that was a 20-person room, physically it's a 20-person room, they're going to dial that back to be an 8 or a 10-person room logically, so that people know that not to go over that number in our system. You can see, based on the number of invitations that went out, how many people are in the different meetings. So most of our meetings are 2 to 5 people. That's good. Some of our meetings are getting up to be 6 to 8, and then there are a few meetings that were even 12 and above, and that's kind of a little dangerous. We'll probably want to reach out to those people and make sure those are virtual meetings and that we're not physically putting 12 people in a room together. I can also look at a chart like this. For example, this 10-person room. This could be actually a 25 or 30-person physical room that we've dialed back to 10 people. And you can see the average occupancy here is actually 6 people. So if that's a 20 or 25-person room, when we're putting 6 people in it, I think we're doing okay. And as John mentioned, compliance is more and more important, and we're all going to be asked to prove that we're operating our workplaces in a safe way, that we're giving people the security that they need to know that I'm going to book a desk and nobody's going to be sitting next to me. I can book a room. I can do these things. As an organization, I can build cleaning into my schedules. I can block desks out based on usage or day of week and build cleaning in so that I can bring people back into the workplace knowing that they're safe and knowing that they're secure. There's so much more that I'd love to talk about with Forum with all of you today. Obviously, we don't have time to do everything today. I'll turn it back over to Mike for questions and answers, but please reach out to us. We'd love to help you get back to work, and 3 months, 6 months, 5 years from now, help you just as much.
Excellent. Thanks, Torrance. So we've had a bunch of questions come in via the chat, and I'm going to grab a bunch of them, and then I'm going to let John and Torrance answer them for me. Number one question that was asked a couple times: will these presentations be available so I could share with my leadership? Yes, absolutely they will. We have the presentation and the recording of it. You'll see contact information in the next 2 slides, so we're more than happy to send that out to you. Number 2, how difficult is it to integrate some of our existing software or hardware products? So who wants to take that one?
I love that question. Mike, I'm happy to jump in. First off, integration is a key part of our strategy, and we built Forum with what's called an open RESTful API layer through which all of our own interfaces go. So everything you saw me do is actually exposed through an open API layer. We have a development sandbox where people are able to build their own integrations into Forum before they go into production. So if you have hardware, if you have a vendor, if you have someone that you'd like to work with and you want to integrate it into Forum, or you want to extract something from Forum and display it. We did something for one of our customers where they wanted to take Forum information and put it on their lobby displays that they already had. Great, we're happy to do that. So the idea of even though this is a SaaS platform, integrating it into your hardware software environment, your ecosystem, your building ecosystem as we call it, is a foundational component of Forum, and we'd love to do that with you.
Excellent. All right, next one. How do you set up dynamic spacing? Is it set on location / floor plan, or as an asset?
Interesting. So the dynamic spacing example that I went through, it is, and I mentioned that everything that we are doing, with the exception of that one report, is functionality that already exists, right? And so is dynamic spacing. Dynamic spacing was set up using the same logic that we use for what we call dynamic conference rooms, where you have a dynamic conference room and an A and a B and a C. And if you book the A, then the whole entity is out. So when we built that, again, not being able to predict what we were going to do today when we built it at the time, but we built it in a flexible enough way that we could take that logic and apply it to anything in the system. So we built it. It's on the desk level, and you go and you block out the desks through that dynamic relationship in the system. So if you're a current form customer, the way I did it is using the dynamic relationships on the asset record.
Okay, sounds good. Next question. What type of hardware do I need to install in our office to make what you showed me?
That type, 0. There is nothing. Oh, I wasn't live. I did that. 0. There is nothing that I showed you that actually required hardware on your end. The QR codes or stickers, sometimes they're printed on plastic and they get put up around. Now they actually can be put on other things. The QR codes can be embedded in digital signage and such, but nothing that I showed you requires any hardware on your end. We're 100% cloud-based, hosted up at Amazon. So we can scale with you. As you know, Amazon, they can scale. If you get big, we get big right with you with your implementations. So there's no hardware required for what I showed you. There are some other features and functions, some integrations that may require hardware. That's another conversation for another time, but everything I showed you today is completely hardware free on your side.
Excellent. How long does it take to get this solution up and running? Obviously, we don't have a lot of time with return to the workplace.
John, you want to take one?
Yeah, I'll take it. It's interesting. What we're finding that our customers are concerned about is, first of all, they want to make sure that they make a really good decision about a platform. And many of them have either are worried about having to reduce their employee headcount, or maybe they've already done it. And most facility organizations and real estate organizations that I know of they're pretty skinny right now, and they don't have a lot of resources. So they're worried that, oh my gosh, I've heard about what it takes to implement these massive systems, and I don't have the people, and I don't have the time, and I don't have the wherewithal to do all that heavy lifting. Well, the beautiful thing about the Forum platform is that it is a very light touch for you. And through a partnership with Netrix and with AgilQuest, we are going to help you every step of the way to get this thing up and running for you. And so it takes literally a couple of hours to get the platform up and available to you. The most of the time is about getting your data. So it's about collecting the information about your people, collecting information about your assets, collecting information about your locations, but getting that data into the system is also really quick. We pride ourselves in having the ability to do something. We have a tool that we use. It's actually based off of how Salesforce gets data into their platform, but it is what we call a data management utility. And we can automate the implementation of the data, getting the data into the system. We can automate the changing of that data over time, and also the deletion of things that need to come out. And like for user information, that can be done automatically. Usually it's on a day-to-day basis, where people will automatically update. Somebody leaves the organization, they automatically get taken out of the system. Somebody gets added to the organization, they automatically get added to the blue team, and so that whenever that person who has now been assigned to the blue team goes to work, it's the next day, they already have the allocation or the ability to see the rooms that they're supposed to see. So really efficient way of going through the process of implementation, and we know that you have to do that quickly, so we're here to help.
Great. Thanks, John. All right, let's wrap this up. So if you can go to the next slide, Mike. So next steps. What do we do from here? You saw a lot of great things. How can this help your company? Reach out to us. We can schedule an individualized demo for your organization. We can set up an agenda to go into some features deeper, some features not so much. Obviously, you've seen that this software is extremely customizable. So reach out to us, we'll schedule a demo, or if you saw the demo and you want to get started right away, we can launch a proof of concept for your organization. And then Mike also mentioned some offers. So for the first 5 customers we hear from, we're going to be offering 3 things. Number 1, a $2,000 credit towards setup and implementation. Number 2, 2 months free on any 12-month license that you purchase. And then number 3, we're going to offer 2 Netrix change communication programs for the first 5 proof of concepts or installation clients that we have. All right, last slide. So how do we set this up? Get in touch with us. Here is our contact information. Please reach out via phone or via email. We really appreciate you all for joining. We look forward to showing you more of the product moving forward and definitely helping you get back to the workplace safely and effectively. So thank you all for your time today. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.